and quite comfortable, or a little less comfortable on split. But of course, the map veto, we're starting off on bind, so G2 really have to put their strategies here together.
Aggressive play coming in here early on from G2 as they push down on Long B here on the starting map of Bind. Initially, there were some players built up in that territory for NIP, but they're going to be falling off. Here's the duel potentially taking place over towards short, and it's Mixwell falling to Rhyme as the Cypher. Rhyme is an interesting player because when we saw him play early on, he was actually hard-locking Reyna. Not exactly an agent that many players select, and in fact has fallen out completely. We haven't really seen many Reyna picks throughout this tournament, but has switched things over to the Cypher and has been doing quite well. It's another pick coming out as well for G2, or NIP, excuse me, onto G2 that finds him at the 5-on-3.
Still going to be the site take that needs to occur. An artist had one very highlight-worthy clip yesterday with the operator on Ascent. And now, looking at his perspective, he repositions towards the shower. That spike, of course, going down. And no brimstone on either team means that the triple smoke on the truck has to feel and look a little different. You see that dark cover covering maybe a little bit more ground than what we're normally used to with the brimstone smokes. And David P on duty here, trying to clear out U-Haul and be greeted with a shock dart, so now having to heal back up to full on the opposite side. I believe it's Fearoth now with the swing. Rhyme is going to be the one that takes that frag though, but really trying to hunt down that refrag. Recon Bolt will be taken out as well as the Sova player, and now setting up that dark cover. But Protect, he's on his lonesome, and the swing from Hip will seal the deal there, and it's a round on the board for NIP to start us off on attack.
It all started with that early pick on Mixwell, who was getting aggressive on short. It was aggression across the board from everyone on G2, even David P, who's technically not on G2. Fingers crossed that signing will be announced soon. The man's been putting in work as the Sage for the team. They all push down mid, or not mid, they put, yeah, mid, short A, really. You'll hear people call two mids on this map. You'll hear them call short A mid sometimes. You'll hear them call the area leading up to hookah mid. But they pushed down short A, and they also pushed down long B. And it ultimately resulted in early kills coming out for NIP, and then they pushed down in towards mid from hookah towards B short. So the buys coming in from the likes of NIP, and they've even spent some extra money to go ahead and bring the rifle into play. The Phantom, they got to watch out as there's shotguns and pistols. They may not look that powerful, but in the right position, played the right way, can be dangerous. Hi.
Oh, Patitek. Hey, listen, I appreciate the gusto. He was really confident that he was going to end up on the other side and a frag was going to go his way. Another person with confidence is David P, having a quick look with the shorty, and now it's the camera, of course, having a much longer look into the showers. Lucker getting tagged out there and revealed by the Recon Bolt. You see how G2 are playing a little bit more aggressively, trying to get some guns into their hands, and it's Mixwell with a quick shot, and now that Phantom might actually end up in his hands. It's not really going to be the case as he just goes directly over towards Lucker. They'll put that wall up, and it's going to be the execute over towards B, all down to Artist, the last remaining player, and he's really just trapped here, stuck amongst all these cyber cages. Rhyme on the other side will take him down quite handily, but this is where the gun round starts to appear for G2, and one thing I've noticed about their early rounds is if they don't do well, they will not invest in anything. Classics across the board in that last round for the maximum amount of money coming in, and you see Artist, he's got the operator really ready to make it sing. They'll even forego utility in a lot of instances just to make sure that they have the weapons to compete.
What do they do in this round here with these SMGs? Early on, it looks like they're going to be challenging towards hookah. And we've got Artists with the operator, the loud operator, no less. That dragon skin, definitely not exactly quiet. Shot's going to go down to try and take out the Owl drone. Doesn't work out so well, but they did stop the Boombot from moving into the territory. Pit with the chin cam Not sure what that's about, but he's here playing defense in hookah. Did the camera fall and he's just not aware? What's going on here?
Not sure, but... oh, I see what you're saying. I was wondering, what do you mean by chin cam? I was like, I didn't know Cypher could attach
not as a Cypher.
spy cam too. Yeah, that would be crazy.
His actual camera is looking straight up his chin. The most flattering of angles for any human.
For those of you that are wondering what the hell we're talking about,
can't unsee it.
If you look at the bottom left, you'll see Pit. Whenever it has a look over in his direction, I'll show a little bit of his camera there. But we're missing some of the action. Hip goes soaring through the skies, and a showstopper will find two, opening up the site here for NIP. And it's not looking so good on the gun round for G2. All down to one final player. It is, of course, the Omen Patitek. We saw his gusto earlier on, a round or two ago, and now all by himself. He's got the dragon in his hand, but can he really make fire come out? Down behind the elbow is Kriya, and it's 3 rounds straight here for NIP. A pretty strong start. You know, you win the pistol, you win the round after. Odds are it's difficult to win that follow-up, but you saw how they invested into some early weapons. A Phantom came across the board on round 2, which means you don't have to buy for the 3rd round. So feeling comfortable. G2 maybe on the force up, maybe on the pistol. Scoreboard will tell us that decision, but a great start here for NIP.
Ults available for both teams, but one much more powerful than the other. Mixwell has the Blade Storm as the Jet. That ult can be very scary and can single-handedly turn around towards your favor. We've seen time and time again how Jet mains have used it aggressively, and it's worked out. And you can hear the ult popped by Mixwell, who's going to be moving in towards short. There's targets right around the corner. How does he handle this one? Swings wide, goes for the Cypher peek, and ends up taking out Rhyme. The shot from the operator is just a little too late. So a nice start to the round here for G2 with that ult. Will Mixwell find more? There's one in the showers. Wants to wash him away from the round. Gets clipped by the op shot. Has to be careful as the shock dart could come through. But in fact, it's going to be the recon dart. Nice smoke coming out from Mixwell to try and give more time to shift over towards the U-Haul for defense.
You know, he's got the most accurate weapon in his hand in the game. Blade Storm, of course, can also 100 to 0 with the right click, but unfortunately needs to reset if he wants more blades to come through, and Kriya will put a stop to that immediately. Artist now in the smoke. Got a couple of shark darts, and it's the ghost that he will become, not the one in his hand. As 2 operators on the board for NIP, they are making it difficult for G2 to have any space to play. David P maneuvers his way in, actually, into U-Haul, avoiding that recon bolt, and they go hunting. Pithy's going to find one, and now it's just down to David P. He's got the Sheriff. Likely not going to be able to make anything happen other than finding a very crucial headshot onto the Omen. But still, I think there's 2 operators, and he's got to play it the best that he can. Going to be picking up an upgrade. That's the op. Now here comes the peek, and it's Fearoth. And I'll say night-night. See you later, David P.
Solid start for NIP on the attack. This is usually that like turning point though, because this is where money has hit a really good point for you if you're G2 after losing the first 4. So there's the buy we wanted to see, is that operator purchase. So we'll see them bring the operator into play. That's going to be in Mixwell's hands. And again, we talked about the op duel and what it might look like. Lucker, the player I kind of want to watch in that regard to see if he's able to do a decent job against Mixwell. Considering what we've seen from Lucker thus far throughout all of the EU Valorant that we've seen to date, very promising operator player playing for NIP. As the Sage looking for an angle over top of that dark cover. Can't quite spot anybody out. Ping's going down on B-Long just in case the player's in that position, kind of giving up some awareness. Hey, there could be someone here. Right now, there's 3 players playing on the B side defense, something we've seen as a shift from most teams playing competitively, putting 3 players on B and kind of offloading that A site with one of your stronger players, which is exactly the case here in Mixwell with the operator. And it looks like they are going to be heading over towards B, so they feel content to force that fight. We'll see if it works out well for NIP.
Usually you'll see the Sage player playing towards long. They'll be able to swing together, trade, wall goes up, slow orb, whatever. But David P playing a little bit closer towards the Tunican, and that's actually exactly where they're coming from. NIP has done this before. They push in through hookah, but it might not be the case for them as they'll start to fall apart. A great angle that Artis had. Finds one. Looking for the second. The op shot won't work as Artis alongside David P will defend the B site. A great round for them. First one, to be quite honest, on the board. Now they'll carry those weapons into the next round.
Right here.
Here's an interesting thing, too. We saw early on, Artis was rocking the operator. He's done that with teams he's played with in the past. So we talked about that when they initially signed him, that it was kind of odd that they were going to have two players who were prominent operator players in both Artis and Mixwell. So we weren't really sure what to anticipate from seeing him on a more dedicated rifle role. And I think both players could flex between both positions. But he picked up that second op and then promptly dropped it. Because I think they were like, you know what? We don't need two. We don't need a second op. Let's get rid of it. Don't want to give them one. Doesn't matter. They're able to afford one anyway. And Lucker's able to chime in with a shot onto Mixwell that definitely hurts just a bit. The ult's going to come through from the Omen to get them back into position over on the A site. The tripwire picks off at least the positioning of Kriya. And there's the ult coming in from Artis as well. So Hunter's Mark, or Hunter's Fury, excuse me, picking off one more, bringing things down to now 2. Fearoth with the operator picked up there from Lucker's corpse to force things down to a 2-on-3. But they have not been able to get onto the site. They had bodies out there. They just couldn't quite do anything once they got there.
Great on G2 to really hold down the site. You're seeing now Artis trying to rotate back towards B just in case they've potentially pulled off. And the side of NIP, they haven't quite yet. They're now starting to pack their things, collect it in a nice tidy box. Maybe rotate over towards B, but the res puts another one into the mix. A great cross set up to defend the resurrection of Pith. Now it's just down to Ryan trying to pick up that operator. Or not really sure what he was doing there. Maybe trying to pick up the spike. Yeah, that might be the case. But now Artis, he's waiting for this push. Swing around the corner. And it's business as usual for G2. Catching up ever so slightly as the economy continues to fall for NIP. You may be looking at a eco either this round or the next, all just depending on where they are right now. Scoreboard, of course, will tell us that information.
Yeah, the money not so fantastic for Nip. Hip currently at the top of the scoreboard, 7-4 as the Rays. 4 kills for everyone else. 4 for Fearoth, Lucker, Kriya, and Rhyme. I like the balanced approach. 5 for Artis on the opposite side, but they're starting to wake up. We mentioned it. That 4th round is usually when things start to change just a bit. The recon dart in mid's going to get destroyed. Artis might have it in his head that there's a lot of people coming his direction, and that's exactly what's going to be the case. As you've got David P now sitting up on top of the tuna can. Spots out that Boombot rolling around over in hookah. There's the Owl drone as well. The orb coming in to try and slow things down. They're going to continue to push out because of that dart in David P's belly. He's got to move. I love the movement coming out from Hip to try to dodge the shots, but T-Tech is there and he's just too quick. It'll come down to now 3 on NIP as G2 continue to play defense, but they're losing control of the site. Now Mixwell has showed up with that operator. Mixwell's going to find 3 on the round. A nice shot to close things out as he drives one through the skull of Fearoth. 3 straight rounds for G2 since they've been able to afford that big buy in round number 5.
Listen, I get it. Nip was on a eco there. They had pistols. They didn't really have the weaponry to tango. I get it. But it's still impressive that they were able, on the side of G2, to maintain the chaos and keep it within the distance that they were able to keep things competitive. I think that was Hip there with like an actual rifle. And so he would be the only difference maker that'd be allowed to make plays. And unfortunately, caught in the air, not able to land the shots. Maybe just a little too wild there. But an early look towards B short. I think they throw out a slow orb to stop any further movement. And of course, Nip, they're going to see that. But I think now on their rifle round, they'll play a little bit more spread out as opposed to their stack. Mixwell, of course, has continued to be aggressive on A short. And see if that changes in the round-by-round conditioning.
Mixwell with that operator on top of the APC. Nothing yet pushed up on short. The dark cover down. And the players currently from the attacking side of NIP further back. Lucker wants to pee. for the peek to come through. Holding the other side of the doorway, though, and you can see there is one in that area getting ready to peek. Does he hold this and find that first shot, though? Recon Dart goes down. Not going to connect. The smoke comes in. There's the ult being popped as well. Mixwell's going to move back as far as possible. But in that time, they lose Pit in the sight. Mixwell through the smoke. Able to find one more. That's 2 on the round for Mixwell as the op player for G2. The knives come out on the ult, but can't make it work. Artist was only able to get 1 before being taken out of play. Paranoia coming in from Putty Tech, and that will be the way the round goes towards G2. All tied up at 4 apiece. Looked promising in the start for NIP, but it falls apart after Mixwell hits some raunchy shots. First one through the cyber cage, second through the smoke with the tracking dart.
That is some good stuff from Mixwell there. Makes a whole lot of sense every single time we see him play why G2, why he was the first player to be picked up, and it's making a whole lot of sense. 9-5 his scoreline, and he's really showing us how to make that operator work. And as you can see, NIP, they don't want to go down A for any longer. They don't want to deal with it. David P aggressively, unfortunately, caught throwing that slow ore, but there'll be 2 members from G2 to stop this push further in towards Hookah. It's Artists and Tech who are ready with the defense. Recon Bull's going to spot them out. They quickly take care of it, but it's an aggressive push from Firath. He'll face a hail of bullets, and now it's the crossfire set up as Artist reloads. Tech takes out Kriya, and they're holding on to this defense. But, of course, may I remind you, this is NIP on a broken buy, so don't really expect a whole lot. Their goal, of course, is to get this spike, maybe get it down, but a kill onto Artist is definitely worth it.
So many times we've seen players try to go up on that box in the corner, and as they go for the jump, they get peeked. It's exactly what happens to Artist that results in his demise. You've still got Omen right now sitting in Hookah, and the dark cover comes down, so they're going to just back off of that one. The port across will get him in maybe a little bit better of a position. Was hoping for a peek to come through, but hasn't seen it as of yet. The 2 players here still feel content to go towards the B site. So you've got Sage currently back behind that dark cover in mid, low on HP. And as they go for the swing, it's another kill coming in for G2. Rhyme with a nice shot, though, coming out from the Sheriff. Will reduce the defense down to 2. And able to pick up some guns in there as well. There's lots of firepower currently on the ground, but has to commit towards this B site or give up on the round. Wow. Dink shot coming out onto Pit. It's all up to Mixwell on the site, but the clock is a problem. Mixwell misses the shot, has to go to the pistol, 10 HP. The time working against him. Rhyme actually connects through the tuna can. How does that round come together for NIP?
I think it's just proving how powerful NIP could be. You really thought they're on the broken buy. They had a great defense in Hookah. Having a look at some of these clips, it's a great cross. But maybe playing a little bit overzealous. Rhyme finding some pockets of power there for the side of NIP. And he really makes it work. Now leading in the scoreboard for his team, 9-7-1. You have to wonder how that all came to be, but I just think it's these little individual plays that were done by Rhyme that kept it together. He found 2 kills with the Sheriff. That's huge. If he was able to land his shots, which he did, and now 4-5, of course, the score line.
Chat was blowing up because of the delay to that massive smoke shots that we saw in a few rounds ago from Mixwell. I'm kind of curious what their reaction will be to that missed shot from Mixwell that results in that round happening the way that it did. 7 seconds on the clock. He hits that, the round's over. Kriya goes for the ult to get that intel, spots the one in heaven. Somehow, Mixwell gets away from it, and he wants some redemption here. Quick shot coming out onto hip. There's more targets coming through from the showers. There it is through the smoke yet again. Mixwell just too quick with the operator. It's now up to Kriya. Stuck behind the cyber cage. 5 players remain for the defense.
Well, okay. That was, of course, the gun round for NIP, but the defense, G2, able to keep them at bay from that A site, and now as we are nearing the end of this first half, a pretty even match so far, just back and forth, but some of these rounds from G2 are a little bit more dominant than I think NIP would like to bargain for. So it's going to be the pistols for them, looking to make an impact on the last and final round. Could see a 6-6 scoreline, could see a 7-5 scoreline. but at the bare minimum, G2 should be able to pick this one up. But we've seen how Rhyme can really make it expensive for G2. We'll see if that's going to be his role here once again, as we start off with a heavy stack towards the showers.
Deploying drone.
Artist, the Owl drone's going to give away all that position, but because they could see the trajectory of the drone and the sounds itself, they knew where it came from. They quickly punish with pushing in. Mixwell will connect on that first shot. Korea tries to go for the TP right in front of him. Mixwell laughs that one off. The spike will be planted, but there's only one remaining. Pitt managed to take out the last two on the round. At least they got the spike plant, but peculiar plays at times that allowed Mixwell to capitalize there. And he'll even get the defuse so he can go for that ult in the next round. Nope, they're going to give it over to the Sage.
Defuse comes through. Almost an expensive round. Of course, they were able to take out two, but Nip moving on to the next round. They've got two ultimates available. It's the Neural Theft, it's the Resurrection on the opposite side. I don't know exactly where David P is along the line of his ult points. Mixwell, he's 1 away. David P is 3 away. So odds of him getting a Resurrection unlikely. And so for the side of NIP, they can definitely, if the situation calls for it, make it a 6v5 or bring another person back into the mix. And that can be very helpful. You don't want G2 to start with a 2-round lead. David P with the early look with the operator of all things towards B short. Doesn't really make it work, but Titek also has an operator, and I'm wondering how many operators G2 actually have, as I'm going to assume 3 now are at least confirmed. That's a little crazy.
I said that Lucker was the player to watch as of right now, not really having a great start. NIP looking to close things out here with a 6-6 scoreline, but they're going to have to do it with a 4-on-5. They lose their Sage right off the start of the round, so not exactly the way you want to see things go. David P. Right around the corner goes Hip, who's been having a great first half, and he continues in similar fashion. An interesting peek coming out yet again from an Omen. Last time it was Kriya who went for the port straight in front of Mixwell. This time it's Petitek who does it right in front of Hip, who is inside hookah. So that man advantage stolen away and turned the other direction. Now it's NIP with the man advantage, and they're putting some dark covers down over on A, which is causing a rotate out. Artist is currently backed by Spawn, starts to think they might be coming through, and they are. Kriya with a great shot out on the op allows them to get access to the B site, and NIP with a great look towards B will likely result in success. It's down to 2. It's Pitt, and it's going to be Mixwell with that op. Can he do it this time with that operator?
Yeah, this is going to be one going to be pushing in through the elbow, and we'll see if Mixwell manages to anticipate it coming. That's going to be the first shot onto Kriya. Now that the Blade Storm comes out, looking for a bit more accuracy for Mixwell. Smoke's going to start to come through, and it's the fake defusal that's coming out first. And now with the recon bolt, it might be the bait and switch here as Mixwell tries to find one, tries to find the second shot. They're just not landing. Hip from behind will be the lurker that Nip needed. And now that they've got Mixwell confused, it's a pretty simple round. 6-6 the scoreline. Feels quite telling of these two teams, how close it may be. Having a quick replay look at how Hip was able to make this push in through hookah work. Really no utility needed, just good presence of mind to keep that angle fresh and keep bobbing and weaving out of the way.
You know, I just realized why Pitt's camera is probably like that. He's probably using a phone. So it's laying on his desk straight up, just the chin cam. It's definitely not a good look, but
yeah.
now I get it. It makes sense. 6 seconds left on the freeze time coming into the second half. Pissed around oh so important for both sides, wanting to make sure they can take that lead and try to control it for a couple of rounds. We saw what NIP was able to do off winning the pistol. They won the first 4. G2 started to claw their way back into the game, and then NIP came in and finished things off a little bit stronger towards the end. And that results on this 6-6 scoreline. Mixwell moving in through the showers. They spot one in the backside of sight. Mixwell just charges in with the pistol, but it's going to be Petitek who picks off Furov, finishing that last bit of HP that was left. Mixwell wants to get closer and closer towards the Raze, who actually found 2. Hit with a nade, able to pick up 2 kills somehow, but sight control is lost. And they're actually going to take the port. I love this. There was a rotate coming through, but they were both in spawn, so they're going to get there just in time to try to catch them as they come out through hookah. And you can see the Cypher Rhyme not able to repeat the success we saw from him in that 1v1 with the Sheriff against Mixwell, but their shots going back and forth that results in a 1-on-2. It's Lucker currently on site. They're trying to get that spike down. They haven't yet secured it.
Yeah, and now the peek comes through from Lucker, still trying to use the smoke to his advantage. 1 kill is going to come through, down to Mixwell versus Lucker. Battle of the operators, and Mixwell can very well get this plant down, but on the opposite side, Lucker is going to be laying in wait for that audio cue. And now with that spike starting to come through, all Lucker needs to do is wait for this wall to dissipate. Now Mixwell ready for the peek around the corner, sees the shoulder of Lucker, and oh, baby! It's the pistol that goes over to NIP, and they regain their lead 7-6.
Winning both pistols here is huge for NIP. Obviously, we saw what they did with it in the first half. Lucker takes a dink shot through the wall. You can see his head kick back, but he brings that crosshair back in line and finds the final kill in the round. I mentioned it coming into the game. He was my player to watch. Hasn't had a great first half. Maybe this is where he turns things around here on the defense. Mixwell has certainly done what Mixwell does, but here's the concern if you're NIP. G2 are not slowing down. The full force is coming in. You can see the Bulldog in Mixwell's hands already. And even Petitek going with the Marshall, getting ready to go for an aggressive peek on short.
Of course, G2 forcing up here, trying to bring the pain over to NIP. NIP on the opposite side, of course, likely going to buy some weaponry of their own. Or, likely have some weaponry of their own. And I kind of expected not everyone to get that memo. Lucker, of course, here with the Ghost. What he held on from the previous round, hoping to get an operator for that third round, trying to save as much as he possibly can. And G2 still have yet to push. A minute left on the clock. We've seen teams play fast. We've seen teams play slow. But now that G2 is ready to push in, they might really start to turn up the heat. An early look from Mixwell. He's got the Bulldog in his hand. And now really getting aggressive. Little does he know there's 1-2 close. Left his hip. And he takes him down. Sprays him with the Spectre. Fear trying to get into a position to get this. Spike plant spotted. But now with that confirmation of the timer, Kriya trying to get a little bit more involved. The shot with the Spectre actually hits him in the head, but Petitek survives a shot across the cheek. And now David P trying to hold off with Artis from U-Haul. They'll start to funnel on in, but decide to go over the APC, and now Artis will be there to try to stop them from behind. Hip's going to find 1. Hip's going to find 2. Make that 3 on the round. David P, the last one standing. The patience going to work out as he finds Lucker still down to the 1v2. But it's the showstopper to the face that'll give NIP another round, and have to wonder how that force up not really going in their favor, how that'll impact the rounds to come.
I mean, they get Spike down and they find 3 kills. If that was an eco, you'd be like, sweet, good job, guys. But that was a force round coming in. So how does it affect their money? Indeed, quite curious to see what it does. That showstopper ult popped really early on. I mean, that's the second round of this second half. And the ult's already available there for Hip, so naturally he's going to use it. Why not? It ends up winning them the round, even if it would have been manageable without it. So some might say it was wasted, but I would disagree. 6-8. What does the buy look like? Not good. Pistols coming out for G2 as NIP look to grab their 9th round. Again, you're going to see a heavy stack towards B coming in from G2. And they're going to be matched against 3 on the defense, which is exactly what we saw from G2 early on their defense. Lucker with the Marshall finding 2. It's already down to 1. It's Petitek, who's got the Stinger, at least able to take out his Omen counterpart. Playing games right now in Hookah, upgrading from that SMG to a stronger SMG. The Stinger to the Spectre, it doesn't really feel like much of an upgrade. But in the end, it will be 4 players that survive for NIP, so they're starting to build up some money off the back of that round.
Well, we have to remind ourselves that this is NIP's map pick, and they're really showing how comfortable that they can be on it. Of course, this is a relatively new roster. While some of the players have played with one another before, the bits and pieces have come from different successful rosters in Europe. And so now that we're seeing all of the gears in motion, it is really showing us that NIP may be one of the best teams in not only Europe, not only in this tournament, but in Europe overall. G2, of course, want to be at that table for the discussion and really give it to NIP. But so far, it's a 3-round lead for the defense. And they've been able to hold off some of these early rounds. Now, with G2 ready for a push, the executes are going to start to come through with the smokes.
Aldrone over the top. Not going to spot out Hip, who's playing inside of this dark cover. The wall is going to come in, and oh, that might work out well at first. At least drops the spike, but his position exposed. So the spike doesn't get initially planted. There's actually a gap in that wall as well that they could potentially exploit. Great paranoia coming out from Petit Tech over in the U-Haul. Korea getting closer to that position, gets spotted by the recon dart, has to back off for fear of going around that corner too quickly. Goes for the peek regardless. Won't win the initial battle. Dark cover coming down. It's a 4-on-4, and Mixwell's gone for the ult. The Blade Storm popped by Mixwell. And a res coming in as well to give NIP the man advantage back. Mixwell still in position with that operator. Misses the first shot. They're all coming through the same way we've seen them retake before. Going up over the top of the APC. There's the ult being popped as well. The Hunter's Fury coming out from the Sova. Not going to do any damage.
Wow.
As the defenders win the round, the spike was defused. Somehow they couldn't manage to make it work. And NIP wins the round. Now, to be fair, everyone from NIP dies in the end, but how on earth does that happen? They were all on the site. The Hunter's Fury was popped towards the spike. That shouldn't be a thing.
No, it shouldn't. It shouldn't. They were in the most ideal post-plant position for their composition. You know, the only member available that could delay that diffuse is Artist, but I think he tagged somebody and he was interested in continuing on that tag. Not interested in defending the diffuse, and maybe even ideally could have held on to that a little longer. We are seeing Lucker now in the round at hand in a little bit of a sticky situation, as that slow orb will keep him quite locked down, and as that swing comes through with the operator, he will just barely make it out, continues to get tagged, and puts up a wall to really defend himself for just a little longer. Shock Dart will take him down to 19. He's really felt it all this round, but still, he's going to have to back away now as they'll start to flood in. Playing it a little bit close. Operator shot not going to connect. It's Artist. That'll seal his fate, and it's another one in hookah that Mixwell will find, opening up this B-side take. We'll see if G2 commits to it.
I mean, that play from Lucker is like the epitome of overstaying one's welcome. Tries to go through the smoke, and hey, I'm David P, and I'm waiting right on the other side. So what do? They back off the play. 4-on-2, and both players for the defense over on B. So this is the right read coming in from G2. They'll have the A site free and clear. And at that point, you got to ask yourself, is it even worth trying to play towards it? There's an operator down on long. Just play for the exit. So they pick up the op. They put it in Fearoth's hands. But Lucker, I look at that early round. I'm like, okay, goes for the aggressive peek, misses. Goes for the slow orb to try to get out. Gets across, takes a lot of damage. Heals, puts a wall up. Takes more damage, continues to stay aggressive with that op playing up. Kind of felt like he should have just moved out of that position eventually. Just surrender that control over, because clearly that was problematic.
Not sure what G2 saw there. Maybe they thought there was a camera up there. It does look like NIP are saving this round. There were a couple of crucial weapons. I think the operator, not sure who ended up picking up. And looking at that pip, I think that is Hip there with the operator. So they managed to secure it, or at least if Hip invested in it early in the round, he managed to keep it alive and keep it in play. So likely going to be handed over to Lucker in the round to follow. The G2 can feel a sigh of relief that they are still in this map. Don't want to really give NIP their map pick and still want to keep that aggression. They've got a 3-round buffer before NIP could just really close it out. And for G2, they need another round like that, and another one, and another one. But to be quite honest, I have to give credit where credit is due. NIP are playing very well in defending, and it's not only Rhyme. We've seen Hip find some 2 pieces, some 3 pieces, you know. And like you said earlier on, in some cases these shouldn't be happening, but somehow NIP are finding them.
Yeah, at times it felt like NIP kind of stole a round away from G2, because G2 just made like maybe a foolish mistake. I love this style of play. So using that Aldrone to get into the portal, they may have heard the footsteps. They had Sova up pretty close, so it's possible they heard that leap across. We'll see if it ends up working out well for Rhyme. But there's ping is currently being sent down. Lucker's right around the corner here. Shock Dart going in will take out the tripwire. Aldrone coming out as well. Might force Lucker out of this position, trying to get away and get around the corner. Does in fact do so. Rhyme just waiting for an opportunity to strike, just has to time it perfectly.
Oh, they hear it. Artist. No, Artist, no! I think he had the recon bolt in mind, and now neural theft will make matters even worse. Can't blame Artist for trying to hold on there, and Fearoth winning that op shot against Mixwell is not looking good. The resurrection will come through, but it's a shot that is actually mistimed by Fearoth. On the opposite side, though, it's hit with one, hit with two. The Guardian, he's making it work. Mixwell off to the side, now going to be greeted with the operator from Fearoth, all down to Pith. On his lonesome, 1v4. I think we know how these go. Trying to find some exit frags, but there's too many angles to look at. And it's Korea from the side, putting us ever so close to this match point for Nip.
So I think the way things went down there with Artis, the Sage Slow Orb landed at the end of Hookah. So when the doors open, I think he thought it was the doors closing from a short Slow Orb. Like the Sage was on short and threw an orb through the portal. And I just think it, like, in that moment, that's what he anticipated, because you saw no adjustment. It wasn't like he pulled out the recon dart and then tried to quickly get away. He just stayed there and stood there. So I think that was his anticipation. And that's the power of getting inside those portal doors sometimes. It can be a little bit confusing if you play it right. Artis leading the charge onto the site, used the Aldrone to spot out one of the players outside of Showers. Mixwell was kind of hoping he could manage to pick that player off. There's a low tripwire down. It doesn't matter. Pit goes into the Showers, backstabbed by Rhyme, who was waiting for him. The site not working out so well here for G2. They find themselves in a 3-on-5 as the early push is punished by the likes of NIP.
You know, as we are nearing the end of this map, it does feel like Nip are just going to push it to a close. Even if G2 are able to find one round or two, they'd really need to work for it. And so far, what they've been trying to execute has worked in some rounds, don't get me wrong, but it seems to be proving to be quite difficult, and Nip is at the helm of making it that difficult. David P, though, throws a wrench into the plan of the defense, walks through the smoke, finds Hip, and now those Hunter's Furies from Fearoth not going to connect with anyone either. Miss Mixwell holding down the angle. Korea in a great position that I don't think G2 expect, as they expect to come for them to come from spawn. And now Mixwell is going to be greeted with the op shot. That's good. Fearoth as well. Just down to one final player. It's David P. But little does he know, a lot of those members are coming in from all possible angles. But that spike is starting to be diffused, or at least getting closer and closer to it. That Sage player is blocked off, and that's great for David P because it gives him time to heal back up. And now playing Tetris. It's the boost up, and oh, I like this play from Lucker. He goes airborne, but doesn't have enough time. Close from NIP, but it's a round on the board for G2. Really did not expect that from Lucker, but Vok, we've seen a lot of really crazy boosts from him.
In general, we've seen some interesting Sage Wall placements coming out, especially in regards to retakes on this A site. Had a promising look come in there from NIP. I mean, look at that. 1-2 quick shots coming out. Unfortunate that they were not able to find that 12th round, the magic number 12 that can guarantee overtime. So G2 will continue to fight their way back into this game with the intentions of winning map number 1. They still got the showstopper ult here on defense. Oh, Lucker wants to go for a bit of a weird wall. I think he's going to use this wall. Yeah, there you go. We've seen this before. Oh, that's unfortunate. That kind of blows up the play. So he has to fall off the wall. Rhyme, though, will be at least the first to find some bloodshed on the round. David P taken out over towards long. That's the Sage going down. So even though the initial peak spotted out the Sage of NIP, the kill comes through onto G2 Sage first as Lucker falls out of position.
Minute left on the clock here for G2 to start and execute, and already losing maybe one of your more important members. Well, in fact, I feel like everyone on G2 is super important, and so losing anyone could be quite detrimental. But your Sage, you're right, the heal's gone, and a lot of that control utility is gone as well. Rhyme in a very pesky situation. Camera going to spot out Mixwell lurking through, and that tag will stay stuck to G2. Lucker has a great angle with the cross as well as with Rhyme. So once they start to push in, it's going to be very difficult. Almost a collateral for Lucker, but he misses them all. It's Rhyme to clean things up. Kriya as well to follow suit. And all down to Artist and a very weird tripwire that he ends up standing on. And he's going to be revealed by the recon bolt. Tries to swing. The Spectre not going to get the job done. The Fearoth will seal the deal on Artist's fate. And now it is match point for NIP. Looking like potentially the game, but we'll have to see what G2 end up buying. A couple of Spectres, maybe a couple of pistols, but fuck, the economy does not look great for G2.
I mean, can you really be all that surprised?
Yeah.
The way that they won that other round and the way they just got rebounded on by NIP. Not exactly ideal. Mixwell, he was your player to watch. His performance currently being matched by Hip, who's having a fantastic game as the Raze. Time and time again, we've seen him go off. In fact, second round ult came out from him. That's how strong he was performing in the second half. Kriya trying to escape the Hunter's Fury, manages to get away after the first pulse does connect, and then goes for the port to escape a further shock to his body. Good play coming out from him, but they've had to surrender control of short. Pitts is pushed all the way up into the U-Haul. The rest of the team starting to gather up in that territory as well. You've got the Omen here right around the corner. There's still 3 players on A, with one going deep through the showers. But there's the wall going down and the plant coming in. The question is whether or not the Sova is going to spot the Jet on the back end of this play first. And there's the peek, and it goes the way of Mixwell. The Bucky, oh so strong at point-blank range.
Now Mixwell will find himself an upgrade, a crucial one for G2 to win. You know, their goal at this point is obviously to get us to overtime, but Hip's got a showstopper. He'll find Pit, and now still the fight continues. That spike ticking down, and it's the classic boost from Lucker, but this time he doesn't really see anyone. Quick shot from him. Artist is going to be the one to fall. Patidek with the Sheriff will get the job done, but Kriya is also going to continue that fight all down to David P now as his team members are starting to fall all around him. And now with the defuse coming through. That's close, but I think they'll get it done. 0.82 seconds left. If G2 just delayed for just a little longer, they might have been able to